Good evening, and welcome to the City Council, Norman Utilities Authority, Norman Municipal Authority, and Norman Tax Increment Finance Authority meeting of February 9th, 2021. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bierman? Can you hear me? Councilmember Bierman? Councilmember Carter? Councilmember Patron?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Here.
Councilmember Nash?
Here.
Councilmember Foreman?
Here.
Councilmember Holman?
Here.
Councilmember Peacock?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is approval of the City Council Oversight Committee minutes of August 8th, 2019, City Council Conference minutes of June 9th, 2020, City Council Study Session minutes of August 18th, 2020, City Council Conference minutes of August 25th, 2020, City Council Finance Committee minutes of September 17th, 2020, and City Council, Norman Utilities Authority, Norman Municipal Authority, and Norman Tax Increment Finance Authority minutes of January 26th, 2021. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
The motion on the floor is to approve the minutes. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Patron?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Aye.
Councilmember Nash?
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman?
Aye.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Peacock?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
The minutes are approved unanimously.
Thank you. Item 4, Proclamation 2021-13, proclaiming the month of February 2021 as Black History Month in the City of Norman. I'll entertain a motion to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation.
Motion. Second.
The motion on the floor is to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Patron?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Aye.
Councilmember Nash?
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman?
Aye.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Peacock?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. A proclamation of the Mayor of the City of Norman, Oklahoma, proclaiming the month of February 2021 as Black History Month in the City of Norman. Whereas, since its origin in 1926 as Black History Week, we have paused to reflect on the many contributions of our African American citizens that enrich our nation, state, and community. And whereas 2021's national theme, the Black Family, Representation, Identity, and Diversity, recognizes the Black family diaspora and complexity of being reverenced, stereotyped, and even vilified from the days of slavery to our own time. The Black family offers a rich tapestry of images for exploring the African American past and present. And whereas the influence and accomplishments of African American citizens have contributed to our community in all aspects of life and have continued to make Norman a safe, thriving, and vibrant community. And whereas the City of Norman continues to strive to become a more inclusive community, providing all residents the right to human dignity, justice, and the opportunity to live life fully and achieve their aspirations. And whereas the Norman Human Rights Commission continues to work to dispel prejudice and discrimination and to advance fairness, mutual understanding, and appreciation for the worth of all people. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Norman, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2021 as Black History Month in the City of Norman and invite all citizens to join me in celebrating the diversity and character of our community. I'd now like to recognize Dr. Belinda Hippolyte, the University of Oklahoma Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Chief Diversity Officer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, there's life in this room. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Belinda Hippolyte, and I serve as the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Oklahoma, serving all 3 campuses in the city of Norman, the city of Oklahoma City, and the city of Tulsa. It is my honor to accept the Black History Month proclamation on behalf of the University of Central Florida, University of Oklahoma, And
we can do
as
both.
a new resident to the city of Norman, you can tell I'm running from work to work, right? Because I just did a presentation for them. I want to acknowledge Mayor Bria Clark, the city council members, and the city leaders. And I would be remiss if I did not publicly acknowledge and congratulate Ms. Cynthia Allen on her recent selection as the Diversity and Equity Officer for the city of Norman. I know that with all of your support, she will lead an amazing change here in the city. So join me in congratulating. So on behalf of the president, Joseph Harris Jr., who is the 15th president of the University of Oklahoma, and the OU Board of Regents, which is chaired by Gary Pearson, the OU community, which I'm a part of, and the city of Norman, I am happy, and it's a heartfelt honor to accept this proclamation. So thank you for ensuring that Black History Month and the celebration of Black people's contributions continue to be acknowledged and celebrated here in the city of Norman and around the world. OU recently launched a new strategic plan that is housed and provides a vision for the future of our university. There are 5 pillars that are housed within that plan, and those pillars really are meant to remind us of who we aspire to be in the future. Pillar 2 really focuses on our students' lives and livelihoods with specific focus on developing meaning, which is critical thinking, service, and a positive impact on the world. OU is housed within the city of Norman. So we want to ensure that our students are constantly engaging with the city. We want them to learn from you. We want them to grow with you, and we want them to serve alongside of you. Pillar number 4 has a focus on creating a sense of belonging and emotional support for faculty, staff, students, and alumni. OU doesn't operate in a bubble, as you all probably very well know. So what happens in the city of Norman typically spills over onto our campus, and what happens on our campus spills over into the community. So it is so important and critical that we ensure that the relationship between the university and the city of Norman has a positive and productive and open communication, and that it's a strong partnership, because that is really, really critical for both of our collective interests. So the town and gown relationship must be authentic. It must be cultivated in order to grow. So to speak to this moment in society and history for our country, for the city of Oklahoma, we're at a crossroads, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about that. So as a new member to the city of Norman, I only arrived here in January of 2020. I had the opportunity to observe all of the challenges that 2020 presented, not only to our university community, but also to the city of Norman's community. Now, I am legacy of a city council person. My mother served as a city council member for 8 years in my hometown, and my father is still an active pastor in my hometown. And so the work that you do is critical and how it impacts all of the communities who reside within the city of Norman. And so when I arrived, it was on full display, and I saw things, and I'm like, wow, what are we doing? So at this time, we must continue to move forward as we're in a season of change. We have to decide who we want to be as individuals and what we want our legacy to be at this moment, not only for ourselves, but for our city as a collective. And it is incumbent upon all of us to take that responsibility very seriously. You're here to serve the people, not your own personal interest. A community that is divided can never thrive. It will merely be in survival mode. So I hope, as a new member of the state of Oklahoma and a resident of the city of Norman, that we will find a way to create opportunities for we, the people, to unite. We have to come together, and more importantly, we have to work together. So Black History Month is centered on Black families, the church, and specifically the community, right? And so I want to leave you with these words. If there is no struggle, there can be no progress. Frederick Douglass spoke those words. So we have struggled together. It is now time for us to be intentional and now grow together. Thank you.
Item 5 is the consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda so that the City Council, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine agenda items that they wish to be approved or acknowledged by one motion. I need a motion to place items 6 through 26 on the consent docket.
So moved. Second.
The motion on the floor is to place items 6 through 26 on the consent docket. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Patrone,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Nash,
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman,
Aye.
Councilmember Holman,
Yes.
Councilmember Peacock,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 6, ordinance 2021-26 upon first reading, rezoning property located at 2413 East Tecumseh Road from A2 Rural Agricultural District to PUD, Planned Unit Development District. Item 7, ordinance 2021-27 upon first reading, amending the Planned Unit Development established in ordinance 0910-11 for property located on the southwest corner of Interstate Drive and West Tecumseh Road. Item 8, appointments of Micah Snyder to the Bicycle Committee, Aaron Brooks to the Historic District Commission, and Dr. Michael Jablonski to the Planning Commission. Item 9, authorization for the purchase of software maintenance and camera warranties from WatchGuard in the amount of $71,786.15 for the Police Department. Item 10, easement 2021-69, donated by the University of Oklahoma for the Constitution Street multimodal path from Jenkins Avenue to Clawson Boulevard. Item 11, easement 2021-70, donated by the University of Oklahoma for the Constitution Street multimodal path from Jenkins Avenue to Clawson Boulevard. Item 12, easement 2021-71, acceptance of permanent right-of-way easement from John M. Nail and Diana R. Hamilton in the amount of $40,200 for the 36th Avenue Northwest widening project from Tecumseh Road to Indian Hills Road. Item 13, consent to encroach 2021-8 for Lot 19, Block 12, Vineyard 3 Edition, 500 Yarmouth Road. Item 14, acceptance of an emergency management performance grant in the amount of $13,888 from the Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security to provide additional reimbursement for CARES expenses to be managed by the Emergency Management Division of the Fire Department. Item 15, acceptance of a congestion mitigation and air quality GMAC grant in the amount of $89,600 from the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments, ACOG, to be used to build 2 electric vehicle charging stations located at the North Base Complex, approval of contract 2021-92, and budget appropriation from the capital fund balance. Item 16, amendment number 2 to contract 1617-113 with Half Associates Incorporated, increasing the contract amount by $132,535 for a revised contract amount of $1,010,035 to provide additional professional landscape architectural services for the Norman Forward Reeves Park Baseball Complex project. Item 17, change order number 1 to contract 1819-97 with H&H Plumbing and Utilities Incorporated, increasing the contract by $11,259.40 for a revised amount of $2,341,759.40 for the 24th Avenue East Waterline Relocation Project, Phase 2, and final acceptance of the project. Item 18, amendment number 2 to contract 1819-133 with Crossland Construction Incorporated, increasing the contract amount by $1,179,054 for a revised contract amount of $6,330,092 for the construction of the Norman Forward Youth Football Practice Improvements at Ruby Grant Park. Item 19, amendment number 2 to contract 1920-40 with Frankfurt Short Bruza Associates PC, increasing the contract amount by $920,250 for a revised contract amount of $3,225,975 to provide additional professional design services for the indoor, aquatic, and multi-sport facility and the Senior Wellness Center, and budget transfer between project accounts. Item 20, final acceptance and final payment of contract 1920-97 with Playwell Group Playworks, Inc. for the Rotary Park Playground project. Item 21, contract 2021-91, project agreement with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation for the installation of pavement markings, Phase 8, along federal functionally classified roadways through the city, and adoption of Resolution 2021-85. Item 22, contract 2021-93, a memorandum of understanding with Columbus Corporation of Oklahoma City Incorporated, developing a contractual relationship related to the lease and management of the city's multi-sport and indoor aquatic facility. Item 23, contract 2021-94 with the Board of Regents of the University of Oklahoma, providing for an exchange of city property located on the Westheimer Runway for OU property located on the northeast corner of Robinson Street and Flood Avenue for the extension of James Garner Avenue. Item 24, Contract 2021-96 with Cabinus Engineering LLC in the amount of $58,100 to provide professional engineering services for the Porter Avenue Waterline Replacement Project Phase 2 from Robinson Street to Alameda Street. Item 25, Contract 2021-97 with GE Johnson Construction Company in the amount of $85,000 to provide construction management at-risk services for the Norman Forward Multisport and Aquatic Center project. Item 26, Contract 2021-99, Memorandum of Understanding with Norman Regional Hospital Authority to develop a contractual relationship related to construction funding and a separate operation of the Sports and Human Performance Center within the Norman Forward Multisport and Indoor Aquatic Facility. I'll entertain a motion to approve or reject the consent docket.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'd like to recognize Catherine Walker, our city attorney, for a presentation on items 22 and 26.
Thank you. Okay, well, I think I skipped the background. There we go. So you all know this is coming forward after a voter-approved sales tax initiative that was approved in 2015 with collections beginning in 2016. And that, of course, included a number of quality of life projects, including a multi-sport facility and an indoor aquatic facility. Over time, these two projects in particular have evolved. And they were eventually merged into deciding to join them into one building, and a site was selected most recently in 2020 when council approved a purchase and sale agreement. Also in 2020, Norman Regional Hospital reached out about partnering to possibly construct a sports performance center within the facility. Because they're not performing a service on the city's behalf, this is rather something that they want to do within the facility. This wasn't an RFP process or anything like that. It really was a partnership, and so you'll see that MOU in just a minute. Operator interviews for the operation of the multi-sport and indoor aquatic were conducted in November, and Columbus Corporation was selected as the operator. So I'll talk about that MOU first. If you're not familiar with Columbus Corporation, you may be more familiar of them by the name they do business as, Santa Fe Family Life Center. They've been operating that center in Oklahoma City since 2007. You can see here a number of the sports that they provide and opportunities for fitness. I know it's important to council and to the community to provide opportunities for disadvantaged kids to be able to participate. And so I wanted to provide you some info here. They served over 9,000 kids in the last year in youth sports leagues, donated over 1,500 hours of facility usage time, partnered with over 25 local nonprofits, and then they operate a year-round multi-sport adaptive sports programming, and working, of course, to ensure opportunities for underprivileged youth. So last year, what that looked like was about $285,000 worth of donated services that benefited over 3,000 individuals. Through the interview process and the RFP process, they were able to provide us a pretty detailed 5-year budget pro forma to give us an idea of how they saw the facility operating, what kind of revenue, what kind of expense, and how that would function. They also established a vision for how this facility would operate in terms of programming, tournaments, how to involve community partners, and how to grow membership. So an MOU, of course, just sets forth key known terms and identifies other areas that will be addressed in a final agreement that we will call the Lease and Management Agreement. You can see the parties listed here. The reason we have multiple parties related to the city are based on the funding sources that are coming towards this project from the city. The term of this lease initially would be a 5-year term. Renewal terms will be set out in the final agreement, which we anticipate coming forward to council in the next few months. So you can see here the programming and services that they would like to start with: basketball, volleyball, indoor aquatics, obviously, pickleball, adaptive sports. This was something that was attractive to the committee because it's not something that we have currently broad opportunities for in Norman. And then local, regional, and national competitions and tournaments, as well as other sports. But they want to continue to gather community and user input to, of course, adapt that programming list and change their service offerings to adapt to the community need. They, under this agreement, of course, user fees are what they're going to use to cover the operational costs, as well as fundraising, scholarships, things like that. The type of fees will depend on the activity. League play fees might look very different from a monthly usage fee, or court rentals. And you can see in their current facility kind of what that looks like. We've required in this agreement, we've required them to include a sliding scale fee schedule based on income levels, available user fee assistance, et cetera, and these must be approved by the city manager. In terms of oversight, the city manager is required to approve and review any policies related to the operation and use of the facility. Quarterly and annual reports will be provided to the city that talks about the services offered, how people are using those services, the financial reports, things like that. And then the city has a right to audit any of those things of the operator or of any tenant of the operator. We've included in the MOU some non-discriminatory policies that are in compliance with our civil rights ordinance and, of course, the First Amendment and viewpoint discrimination, things like that. The operator is responsible for routine maintenance, general repair, providing supplies to operate it, things like that, and the city is responsible for capital items. Those are items valued at $5,000 or more with a expected life of more than 1 year. The city retains the naming rights, but we're going to work with the operator and with the hospital on these things. We do anticipate some signage that would identify the operator on the facility. There's a couple different sections in the MOU that talk about partnerships. Norman Regional Hospital with their facility within our facility, they would be the exclusive healthcare partner. It's an obvious fit based on their location. And the operator is already working to develop partnerships with known user groups like Sooner Swim Club, Norman Public Schools, and the Optimist Club. We'll get more details on what those relationships will look like in the final agreement, but we did want to lay out that those relationships are currently being pursued and those collaborations are occurring. There are a number of insurance requirements in the MOU, of course. The city would be named as the additional insured in those insurance policies. And then we will talk about remedies and termination clauses more specifically in the final agreement. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions on that agreement. If not, I can go on to the hospital's agreement.
Councilmember Foreman?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to point out that I'm really excited about this vendor and how they're going to make it available to all children to play there in the adaptive sports. When we had our meeting, we talked about wheelchair basketball, wheelchair volleyball, and stuff like that. And I think that's really great that we can include all members of our community in that.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman?
The user fee has really been the main thing that I've been concerned about ever since Norman Ford started. We've talked about it since then, really, is making sure that these facilities, since the public is paying to build them, that the public will be able to afford to use them. And just wanted clarity on that process, how that might be decided, because I just want to make sure that we're not in a situation where it's half the price of whitewater to go to our indoor pool, but without all the whitewater stuff.
Yeah.
So making sure that all people in our community are able to use this facility, it's not too expensive. And I see the sliding scale and based on income, and so that's probably what I've had most questions about, really, the user fee stuff.
Yeah, and I think on some of their fees, they are going to need the ability to be nimble, but I do think we can provide additional information in the final agreement about ongoing monthly rates, things like that, that are a little more certain. Anytime we've got someone operating a facility and risking, whether it makes money or lose money, they're going to want to cover their costs. I will say, and I had a little bit of that on the slide, they do a lot of fundraising in Oklahoma City, I think, to kind of help strike that balance, and I expect that to continue here.
And we had anticipated all along with Norman Ford that the city would be, to a certain extent, subsidizing the operation of this facility. The way I understand this agreement, they're not asking us for a subsidy? Right.
No, other than utility fees, which would be set out in the final agreement, there's not a subsidy.
Okay. In light of us having always anticipated that that would be the case, that we would be on the hook for at least, I recall $275 a year, or it was something around there, if needed to ensure that user fees are affordable for our residents, that is something I would not be opposed to doing given the fact that we had always anticipated we would probably have to be doing that. So if the city has to chip in to keep user fees from going up because of the operation cost and the operator needs to raise them, that's something I would definitely be interested in and hope we have the ability to do at some point. Thank you.
And like I said, we hope to have more firm information in the final agreement. We're still in the design phase, and the reason we wanted to do an MOU now is we think it's really important to get the operator on board along with the construction manager, which is also on your agenda tonight, because as these parties all move forward together in this project, I think we'll have a better, more seamless transition from design to construction to operation.
Thank you.
And so we don't have all of the details, but I think, we'll have those in the coming months.
And I'll also mention, I believe the Trey Young Foundation is interested in providing scholarships as well to make sure that this state-of-the-art facility is available to all Norman residents. So I'm excited to see that develop and support it in any way that I can. Any other, Councilmember Hall?
I just wanted to visit number 19, where it discusses the collaboration among partners. I had the opportunity to visit with the aquatics representative that was on the selection committee and also a representative from the Optimist Club. And I just wanted to guarantee for them and really for the public, because the expectation all along is that this is a facility where these community partners would be able to operate and function. And they both expressed a desire to have a little bit stronger wording in the final agreement. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do that.
Yes, I know those meetings have begun. I've not personally been a part of them, but my hope is we will have more details about how that looks in the final agreement.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to item 26, please.
Okay. This is a really quick mouse. Okay, so the MOU with the hospital, like I said, the hospital is not an operator performing a service on behalf of the city. Rather, they're a partner, and so this MOU is similar in structure, but it's a little different in some key terms because of that different relationship. And this one, we really do hope to have that final lease agreement sooner rather than later, because we are in the middle of design, and the hospital is very much, going to be in step with us as we finalize design. Same parties, except on our side, and of course the hospital on the other. Here, we're looking at a 15-year lease, and that's because the hospital is funding the design and construction of their space. And so that's the time they need to recover those costs. And so 15 years will be the initial lease, and then we'll work on renewal terms for the final agreement. I love what they're calling it. They're wanting to operate a sports and human performance center within this facility. They will work to secure any contracts, hire employees, all those kind of things, so we can open this portion of the facility at the same time we open the rest. They'll own the removable assets in their facility. They can sublease, but that sublessee or tenant has to comply with the contract with the city. And the facility has to continue to maintain its intended purpose and use as a sports and human performance facility. I feel like every time I click, it goes 2 slides. So here are some of the services that they are going to provide. You can see that all ties very well in with the type of sports and activities that will be occurring at the facility. Lots of sports-related things, physical therapy, athletic training, conditioning, things like that. Like I said, in the operating agreement with Santa Fe, they will have a relationship with the hospital because the hospital will be the exclusive healthcare partner. Those two parties are already talking, and we'll have more details in the final agreements for that. That'll involve 2 marketing and promotion rights, of course, being the human and sports performance facility within our facility. They want to have a right to or opportunity to sponsor tournaments, provide athletic training services for events. They might open up a fuel nutrition retail bar, health and wellness events, things like that. There are some specific provisions in here related to their status as a healthcare covered entity under HIPAA. So you'll see in sections 10 and 12 some information about privacy and confidentiality. We also have included our non-discriminatory policies in this agreement. Again, they will be responsible for the maintenance and general repair, supplies, all those things within their facility. Same definition of capital items here, so anything over $5,000 with a expected life of more than 1 year is the city's responsibility. We will, outside of their facility, medical equipment, of course, would not be. The city retains naming rights, but we do anticipate some signage identifying the hospital as well. They want to work with the operator too in developing those same partnerships with the known user groups. So this is a really important collaboration between all of the parties and the users. They have similar insurance requirements, and then again, the remedies and termination clauses will be specified in the final agreement. And that one will probably be coming back to you first. We really want to get on the ground with that one and get that finalized as we move forward with design. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions for that one.
All right, seeing none, I would like to invite our chair of the Norman Forward Citizens Financial Oversight Board. I can only say that because I served on it at one point. Andy Rieger.
Andy Rieger, 1025 Whispering Pines. Mayor Clark, members of the council, good evening. I'm here tonight in my position as chair of the Norman Forward Citizens Financial Oversight Board. That is a mouthful. My 40 years in the news business taught me not to lean toward one side or the other, but root for a good story, and today, Norman Forward is that good story. The promises made to voters in 2015 are being kept. Our sales and use tax numbers are trending below our original estimates, but close to the revised estimates. 8 of the projects have been completed or are nearing final acceptance. The board is cautiously optimistic that revenue numbers will improve and that projects will come in at or below expected costs. All but one has come in under budget, freeing up funds for the remaining projects. Let's celebrate them. 2 world-class libraries, improvement of the James Garner Avenue intersection for the library and the future extension from Flood Avenue, an indoor tennis center, a new Westwood swim pool and water park that replaces one that I'm pretty sure that I went to the grand opening when I was 10 years old. For Andrews, a new skate park that is the talk of the state, a new Ruby Grant Park, which is the first regional park for the area west of the interstate, continued improvements at Griffin Park. So tonight I counted 5 items on your agenda related to Norman Forward projects. The next 2 major improvements that voters will see taking shape are the Senior Wellness Center, built on what we know is the Porter campus of Norman Regional Health System, and the Indoor Sports and Aquatic Center, which will also have an exciting partnership inside the building with our community's hospital, Norman Regional. The Oversight Board pledges its confidence in the process and our continuing support for moving toward completion of all projects promised to our voters in 2015. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rieger. I will mention, starting, week and a half from now, I'll be kicking off my Move with the Mayor series, not only to encourage you all to get out and be physical, but to visit some of these facilities that your taxpayer dollars paid for. So there's more information about that on my social media. But for now, are there any other questions or comments from council regarding the consent docket? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to approve the consent docket. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Petrone,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Nash,
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman,
Aye.
Councilmember Holman,
Yes.
Councilmember Peacock,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes,
The consent docket is approved unanimously.
thank you. And this meeting is adjourned.